You're never going to believe what I did. I stayed in a toxic relationship for 6 years. And then after that, I got into another long-term relationship for another 2 years in a toxic relationship. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that will enable you to understand why you're going to experience an awakening in a toxic relationship and if you should leave or not in a toxic relationship. When should you leave? When should you stay? Okay, so in my 6 year relationship, she actually ended up cheating in the end. And I was in really bad shape. In fact, I realized that I was actually codependent in this relationship and she had narcissistic traits. I wouldn't say that she was full-blown narcissist. Her mum was definitely 100% a full-blown narcissist, but she had traits. And obviously that affected me. I didn't know I was codependent, but in the end, she cheated. And then I realized how codependent I was on this woman in my life. And so the dating game right now is really bad. For a lot of people, it's very hard to find a good relationship. It's really hard to find good people. And for someone to have the core values that lead to a successful relationship, because everybody's been programmed and conditioned with the romanticism. Everybody's been programmed and conditioned with the feminism, right? And we have lost track of what a relationship is actually about. Okay, for us nowadays, it's about pleasure. It's about what I can get from you and what you can get from me. It's a trade-off. And essentially trading emotions, trading feelings. Like your needs are these are my needs. You're going to give me my needs. I'm going to give you your needs. And this is what it's all about, right? People don't have in mind oftentimes that they want to grow a family or have marriage. And I would advise the women, if you're dating, if the guy isn't interested in marriage on the first few dates, what do I mean by that? If he's not interested in marriage, chances are he's not going to be someone to commit and have a long-term relationship with. Okay, you're wasting your time if the man doesn't want to get married. You can literally just that alone, you can cut out a lot of men that are not for you just by that one thing alone, right? And a lot of women don't understand that, right? So for me personally, with the woman that I'm with now, I already wanted marriage prior to being with her. See how that works? So already my intentions are clear. I'm not on Tinder or any of these apps or meeting people for the intention of just having feelings and emotions. There's a vision for what I want for myself and what I want with that person that I'm getting with. Okay. So I just want women to know that and understand that, because men hold access to commitment, women hold access to sex. Okay. And so women don't realize they can utilize, and I think they do utilize their sex to get a man to commit. And that's why, you know, in Christianity and certain religions, there's no sex before marriage. These things are in place for a reason. But there's people out here increasing their body count. And yes, it does matter if you sleep with a lot of people. It decreases your capacity to be in a long-term relationship. Unfortunately, it's just the way things are. And statistically, it's not healthy for a long-term relationship. And so unless you're going to do some of the things that I'm going to be telling you in this video. So first relationship was 6 years long and it was very toxic. It was very challenging. And I stayed in it because I guess, like I said before, I was codependent. And I had many different awakenings during this relationship. But the thing about it is I didn't understand at the time, I was much younger, that there was no real purpose for the relationship. And one of the things women and men and heterosexual relationships or whatever relationship style you have, there needs to be a purpose for the relationship. If I walked up to anyone, if I walked up to 10 people in the street right now and I went to interview them and asked them, like couples, what is the purpose of your relationship, right? They wouldn't come up with an actual purpose. They would just say something like love or to have a family, right? And so it's important that you know the purpose and then each partner has the same purpose, the same vision of where the relationship is going. Otherwise, it's just going to go the wrong direction. One person's going to grow faster than the other person, etc., etc. And so it's important that if you don't have purpose in your relationship, to figure out what that purpose is, so you are both in a teamwork towards the outcomes that you want. And this is something that I awakened to over time. And so this relationship, 6 years, obviously didn't work. Spent a lot of time, money, and energy with this person, but it wasn't wasted, right? I learned a lot of things from this relationship, and there's a lot of beauty to come out of it. And this is what we got to understand about relationships in general, is that oftentimes we get to learn a lot about ourselves and how we can grow and expand and become better versions of ourselves, even though that doesn't actually exist, right? And so I got into another relationship, and it's the relationship that I'm in now. And we were experiencing a toxic relationship for 2 years, right? However, what made this different from my prior relationships, which was 6 years, was that she was actually taking the steps to improve herself. She was actually taking the steps to get therapy. She was actually taking the steps to get coaching. She was doing the work pretty much every single day on herself. And so was I. You know, I'm not going to say that I was perfect. I had my own stuff that was activated within me and triggered within me with her, right? And sometimes a person does that to you because they are awakening the stuff inside of you, the triggers, the flaws, the weaknesses, so that you get to go ahead and deal with that and process that and become more clear and closer to God, closer to the universe, closer to truth, closer to your heart, and experiencing more of that. And so sometimes people could be in a toxic relationship, but the other person is taking all your energy, taking all the weight. You're carrying all the weight of the relationship, and the other person is doing completely nothing, right? They're just draining you every single day. These are types of relationship where it's not a good idea to stay in long term, in my honest opinion. Now, you got to speak to God about that. Obviously, that's my opinion, and you got to decide whether or not this is for you or against you. And so if the other person is just pulling on your energy, taking and draining you, and you're carrying it, and sometimes, you know, we got to be careful because you could be carrying it, but there's something that you are carrying that is making the relationship the way that it is. And so you have to reflect on that. So it might be a certain trait, a certain behavior, a certain attitude that you have. It may be that, I can just give an example here. This is not the end all be all, but sorry about that. The door rang, and so I had to like go downstairs real quick. But basically what I was saying is that oftentimes in relationships, there's a mismatch in the dynamic between masculine and feminine energy. And for me as a man, I prefer women that are more feminine and nurturing. And so if I'm experiencing a woman who is in her masculine energy and she's constantly like that, that can bring out certain traits and energies in me, okay? And then the other person's assuming that I'm behaving in this way because of me just being that way, which is kind of the truth. But at the same time, you know, in the relationship, it's not just one person, it's a relationship, okay? There's 3 people involved in a relationship. And I know that sounds crazy. There's one person, the other person, and then the relationship, okay? The relationship is another person, okay? And we have to realize that there's a combination, there's an equation that goes on where sometimes your traits, your behaviors affect the other person in a certain way and certain traits. So I can tell you that I've been in different relationships, and in different relationships, I'm a completely different person with them because of the way that they make me feel. Does that make sense? So someone can make you feel ultra comfortable in a relationship, and then certain traits in your personality come out more and stuff like this. And so that could be positive and that could be negative. And so what I would say is that sometimes you have to reflect on yourself and ask yourself, or even ask the other person, are your needs being met in this particular area? Am I causing this to come out in you? Okay, now everybody has to take accountability and responsibility for themselves, but you kind of understand the gist of what I'm talking about. So in my current relationship, I I actually spoke to her parents and asked for permission for marriage recently, and it was a beautiful experience and life changing for me. Like, I've never experienced that before, and I knew I wanted marriage before even getting with her. And yeah, I'm so happy that I had that intention before getting with her, right? Because it's not wasting my time, it's not wasting her time. And I can tell you, back in the day, I had the mindset as a man to be like, you know what, I'm just going to see how things go. So if you're on Tinder and you're on any of these apps and you're getting to know a guy or even a girl or a woman, right? And they're saying, oh, I'm just on here to see how things go, right? Usually, you know, they either have no hope or they're just looking for friends with benefits, or like there's no vision of there's no clarity around what that person wants. And so chances are you're going to be wasting your time. And if you ask the person, what are you looking for? And they say, I'm looking for my wife. Like, I'm looking for someone that is like this, blah, 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 blah. Then you can consider this person for a date. Do you know what I mean? And in my opinion, it's just way quicker when you get everything out on the table right away. I don't know why people play around with this idea of flirting and feminism and not feminism, romanticism. You know, like, yes, you need a little bit of emotion and these feelings and stuff like this, but that is not the main thing that's going to make a relationship last. Sometimes in a marriage, those feelings of excitement and dopamine and energy and aliveness disappear. And they can disappear for a month or 3 months or 6 months or even a year or two, right? But that is how life is. What people do nowadays, men and women, mostly women because they initiate most divorces, is that when they don't feel the feeling anymore, they leave. And that is not what a relationship is about, right? It's not about romanticism. And so we have to realize that this itself is an awakening. This is understanding that it's not about constantly being attracted, constantly feeling emotions, constantly feeling these things. And if I don't feel it, it means I need to leave or move on or find someone else or cheat, right? That is not what a relationship is about, okay? And so we get so focused on our own needs, which is selfish, right? That we don't realize that this is three people involved. Like I said before, it's you, the other person, and the relationship. And then when you have kids, it's the kids too. And so it becomes even more important. Does that make sense? And so back in the day, you know, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's two families involved, right? It's two families coming together. But now the woman decides who they're going to be with, and the man decides who they're going to be with, and there's no family involvement in that, usually most of the time, right? And we're missing that. We need the tribe to analyze what's going on. Are you actually a good fit for each other? And so we're way far from that now. And, you know, even when I was asking for permission, or prior to asking for permission from my partner's parents, I asked my mum. I asked and spoke to people about it before making the decision. Does that make sense? So I think people don't really understand the seriousness of commitment and relationships, and it needs to be spoken about. So anyway, why would I stay in this relationship for 2 years even though it was toxic? She was working on herself. She was seeking therapy. She was doing the work. And I could see her core, okay? This is the most important thing in a relationship. I could see her core. Her core is that she is the type of person that when she's in, she's in. She's committed, she's committed. That is her core, that is who she is. And I seen that in me, and I saw it in her, so I knew no matter what, she's going to make this relationship work. And that's what a lot of people are missing, right? Is that they don't know the person's core. The core is like things like loyalty, trust. How does this person act in a challenging situation? How does this person react under pressure? You know, and do they communicate in a good way, right? Personality and them making you laugh and attraction, which is kind of crazy that I'm saying attraction, all of these things are secondary. They are not as important, if not important at all. I know what I'm saying sounds crazy, and the people in the back are going to be like, what are you talking about, my G? Nah, I'm not doing that. Well, that's the way it is. Because when you get older, you are not going to look the same. Right? You are not going to look the same. And so that's what we have to understand, is that things change. And if you're constantly focused on things like attraction and, going for a certain type of look or whatever it is, and then over time you get unattracted and then you want to leave because you're not attracted anymore. This is the wrong way to approach a relationship, right? And so we have to become more conscious of this ego that we have, what we've learned from the Maya and the Matrix, that a guy needs to have this and this and this and this and this, right? And 6 foot, 6 figures, abs, right? All this stuff. I'm not saying that people here watching this video are looking for that, but it's just a reflection on our own ego narratives that we have, that we've learned from the Matrix. So if you're born in a tribe in the middle of the forest and you don't know what this pretty, good-looking, attractive thing actually is, it doesn't exist in your mind, you're just going to go with whoever's there. Like, you don't have options, right? You're going to go with who's there. And this is what we need to learn. This is what we need to understand, is that we are spoilt brats, literally spoilt brats that like want this perfect, ideal relationship that is ludicrous and never going to happen. It's so far-fetched. And the funny thing is, counterintuitively, when you stop looking for that, you find it anyway, because that's what I have. I have someone that I'm attracted to. She has all the traits that I like. We don't even need to talk. It sounds crazy, but literally, if it comes to like, we're cooking, eating, cooking, cleaning, whatever, we don't even need to talk. Can you do this? Did I do this? Everything's just automatically happening. And it was like that since the start of our relationship. Okay. And I wasn't looking for those things. I wasn't even looking for a relationship at the time. At the time, I didn't even want a relationship, which is kind of crazy. Okay. It's just that when you find a gem, right? When you find something so rare, it's like, damn, you need to take advantage of that, right? And then when I say take advantage of that, I don't mean like in a bad way, but take advantage of it. This is what I can see as a powerful, loving, long-term relationship. And it's not about anything, well, a person, she's got a good personality and stuff like this, but that's not the reason why I want to be with her. It's the soul, right? It's the truth of who she is. It's her core. And this is what we need to move into relationship with. So for 2 years, it was challenging. She's been through a lot of trauma. I've had a lot of trauma around communication and stuff like this. And there was some challenging times in the relationship. And she stayed because she saw that in me, that I'm someone that grows. I'm not just someone that's like allowing her to carry all the weight. Does that make sense? And now, after 2 years of therapy, of healing, of sessions, of money spent and stuff like this, we are on the, downstream, where we actually get to enjoy the relationship more. Because what most people do is they're looking for that in the beginning.
In the beginning. In the beginning. In the beginning.
I don't know if you've seen that video. I'll put it up right now. In the beginning, right? Most people are looking for that spark and all of this stuff in the beginning of the relationship, right? And oftentimes when there's fireworks in the beginning of the relationship, it's not going to last because it's unsustainable. It's not real. It's lust. It's not love. And they're thinking that's how it's going to be long term. And oftentimes you get lost in that and you lose what the relationship is actually about you lose all the flaws. You don't see the red flags because you're in dream world, right? And so this is what we got to learn, okay? So this is essentially why I stayed in a 2-year relationship that was considered toxic, but it was toxic in a beautiful way. It's like, okay, we're going through this stuff. It is what it is. We got to pass through it. There's a lot of stuff that we need to deal with and unfold and work with in this relationship. We're each other's mirror. We're in it to win it. Let's just make it happen. It's just going to take some time. It took 2 years. And, I just want to give you some examples. My coach, his first 2 years of his relationship, he's been married for I think he's been married for 20 years, 20 something years. His first 2 years of a relationship was really bad. Okay. I met someone the other day. It was my taxi driver, my chauffeur. Right? It was a taxi driver. He was taking me to the airport. And what is this? What is this thumbs up thing? Why is that there? His first 2 years of the relationship was really bad. But now it's just pure joy because they worked through the stuff together. They were in it to win it. And that's what we got to understand. Okay. Can you find someone who's in it to win it, that will seek therapy, that will get help, that will reflect, that will say sorry, that will take accountability when they're in the wrong, right? These are the core things that matter most. Everything else is secondary. Doesn't matter as much, right? If you're attracted and it's like all this stuff, that's a bonus. It's a bonus. Okay. Do you want a long-term relationship? Do you want commitment? You go from there. Okay. Now, if you're in an existing relationship right now, you need to watch this video together, right? And you need to write down your values. You need to know the purpose of your relationship. So, yeah, I created a free training that's more about quitting your 9 to 5 and removing the blocks that's stopping you from quitting your 9 to 5. So if you have blocks like doubt, fear, anxiety that's stopping you from taking action towards a business or starting a new stream of income and stuff like this, the link's in the description. And if you wanted me to make more videos like this, I'm planning on making reaction videos and stuff like that. Please comment below any topics that you would like me to talk about, and then we'll go from there. All right, much love. Peace.